Taking the door panel off your old Supra is actually pretty easy to do. It's the same on a Celica. There are a few screws and then a bunch of tabs around the outside of the door. Pretty standard for door panel installation. First screw to take out is right behind the door handle. Unscrew it. One screw straight in. Take it out. And then the whole bezel comes out around the latch. I always put the screw back in the cup in order to make sure that I don't lose it. Next screw is behind these little caps. There are two of them. One sort of in the middle of the door, one toward the back. They're way inside. These are pretty big screws. They can be a little bit difficult to get to. You can use a number 2 or on this one even a number 3 Phillips. I hold on to the outside of the door to provide a little bit of leverage to be able to get in there, because these are pretty tight. These are the main screws that hold the panel together and give you the leverage to close the door. And it's better to hold onto the door than to put the strain on the hinge, because that's quite a bit of force on the hinge if you're pushing right on the outside of the door. Next screw is actually underneath this little panel here. Just pull the panel down, and the screw is toward the front on the inside. Same as the other two big screws. It's fairly sizable. Takes a bit of force to actually get the thing out. The last screw is actually behind the light. So you just unscrew the one screw in the light. Comes out very easily. It's pretty long. Then undo the electrical connection. There's a little tab you can pull on the side here. Pull a tab and then wiggle it. Off comes the light assembly. And the screw is right toward the front of where the light was. Always use a good quality screwdriver, not a cheap one, because the good quality ones will tend to hold the head better, and even if they slip, they won't tend to fall apart. Some of the cheaper ones will just disintegrate when that happens. Now, depending on how many times your door has been open, you may be able to just pop it off with your fingers. At this point, they're all just push pins. This one's been off a few times. I can gently just pry up. Otherwise, you can use a trim tool, which is the proper way to do it. Or if you don't have a trim tool, you can use 2 flat blade screwdrivers. Don't use one. A lot of guys just use one, and they move it along to the edge of the fastener, twist it, and pop it off, and half the time it pops out of the hardboard backing. If you use 2, put one on each side of the fastener and pop them both. You're much less likely to damage the actual hardboard backing. In my case, I'm using 2 fingers, one on each side. I'm just gently prying, and pops off pretty easily. Then pull the bottom end of the door toward you, and it drops right out. In this case, there's also an electrical connector for the power windows. It's a standard Toyota connector. Just push down the little button, pull it apart. We're disconnected. And your lower door panel's off. The upper door panel is held on by these screws up here, some of which are behind. Actually, shouldn't be behind. These 3 screws here, they go through the plastic. They're pretty easy. Just 1, 2, 3 screws, and then it just lifts up and out of the way. So your upper door panel is now off, and this is where you can get to your inner door weather stripping if you can find one and replace it. And that's your door panel removal. If you want to take this other little trim piece off, there's one screw here. The screw comes out, this just pops off. And that's door panel removal.